What is going on, everyone? AP over here at Rumpier Sports, bringing to you once again. We have the PGA DFS Lineup Builder Show. I'm here with my two guys. We got Uncle T. We got Snyder. We're early because we got the Dallas Mavericks against the Timberwolves starting a little later. So we want to be on point, start this thing early, dial in the winners. Let's bring in the fellas. Uncle T, what's going on, my man? How are you doing this week?
Yeah, doing really good. Great to be back with you guys. A lot going on. We got the baseball streak still going on. We got obviously game, what is it game now on that game 4, I guess? Are they going to get the sweep, Dallas like the Celtics did last night? So we got the Showdown slate going on. We got golf going on here with the show tonight, building some lineups for this week. So only a couple weeks away from the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. So looking forward to the show with you guys again this week. So, let's get to it.
Let's do it. Snyder, what's going on, my man? How are you doing this evening?
Doing pretty good. Looking forward to the next the stretch of tournaments we got coming up. We got some pretty solid tournaments coming up. AP's got a heck of a week planned next week, and then next week we got a really good week too as well.
Yeah, we do. And, I do got to shout out, our I need to pull up his name. Yeah, DJ Kathy, I think. I probably butchered it. Absolutely butchered it. But he won the Tiger Jam seat, and he was unable to go. And I think some close friends of his were unable to go. And, he hit us up, kind of RPS, some of us on the leadership team. And I snap called. I mean, you kidding me? Like a chance to go out there, Vegas, Tiger Woods. Your boy Colin Morikawa. I mean, Snyder, if you got questions that you want me to ask them, I'm all ears. Like right now, you got to give them to me. So no, shout out to him. Can't thank him enough. I think I've been thanking him all week long. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. We'll take pictures and I'll make sure the RPS community gets kind of a little look into everything, assuming that I can take my phone and videotape stuff and everything. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Tiger Jam this weekend. Absolutely can't wait. Thanks for bringing that up, Snyder. I was trying to stay humble. I was trying to not get too excited. Didn't want anyone else getting jealous or anything. I like to stay humble. I'm a pretty humble guy. Like to stay in my lane. Let's get to it, though. If you can, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. It helps us out a lot over here at Rumpier Sports. Snyder, we're going right back to you. We're at the RBC Canadian Open. Give us a breakdown for the course this week.
Yeah, there's a little bit here I got for you guys. The tour heads north this week. They're in Wiley Stomping Grounds here in Canada. Hamilton Golf and Country Club is a par 7. It's going to measure 7,084 yards. This track will play as the third shortest course played this year. The greens here are going to average right around 6,000 square feet on average, so decently sized, and they'll be rolling at around 11 to 12 on the step meter. This is a course that's got a creek running through the property there, and 11 holes are going to have that water in play on them. They've had some decent rain recently, and the rough looks to be pretty juicy and tough there. It should be right around 4 inches thick-wise. Looks like it could play pretty tough there if you find the rough, so maybe an emphasis on trying to keep the ball in the fairway should be good there. And then Scott Piercy also talked about having good distance control when you're coming into these greens on your approach shots. There's some severe slopes on these greens. You need to be well below the hole, like preferably below the hole, so you can putt. Better putting there for that. And some other key stats we'll be looking at this week: strokes gained approach, birdies or better percentage, off the tees with an emphasis on fairways gained, approach or opportunities gained, and then putting with an emphasis on bent grass.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. As always, Snyder with the course breakdowns. How we do it. And, revisiting last week, if you followed along, if you watched the show, I feel like it was pretty successful. It was forcing in kind of a two-stud path, obviously, with prioritizing our boy Scotty Scheffler in there. That was, the path to victory, as long as you had Davis Riley. I did not. Shout out to Uncle T. Uncle T, you were all over it. The Davis Riley call, shout out to you. We're going to go through that same process today. these guys are going to give me their takes. I'm going to bump up the projection up or down, and it's going to give us kind of a baseline feel of what roster construction will look like this week. I like this process. It helps me out. Again, don't stop here. Take it a little bit further. We're just doing this as a baseline to help you out and to give you a behind-the-scenes look at SaberSim. If that's not the optimizer that you use, you should use it. Head on over to Run Pure Sports. You can sign up RPS 15. That works for the SaberSim subscription with us. Let's get into it, though. Uncle T, I'm going to start with you. Let's go the stud range. Shane Lowry, a stud this week. All the way up to Rory McIlroy. What are we doing with the studs this week?
Yeah, interesting up top, just in the fact that I think it's similar to last week in a way where you had Scotty up there at 13-3, I think, last week, or 13-2, I can't recall. And then you had Morikawa. Similar this week in the sense that I think there is a huge drop-off, like we all know, between Rory and Theegala, and then obviously Fleetwood and Lowry. But I can make the argument that at 12-1, Rory, and I don't lock many guys. I just don't play enough lineups to really lock. I'm usually not that guy. I'll be way overweight and play a lot of lineups with some guys up top I like normally. I'm going to just lock Rory here at 3.5 to 1. Again, last week I think Scheffler was 3 to 1, 2.5 or 3 to 1, depending on where you got it. And then you had Morikawa last week was around 12 to 1. I think Burns was up there as well, or Homo was up there as well. But what I'm getting at is I think I'm going to just lock Rory here. I don't do it often. 12-1 feels like he's about, I don't know, at least $1,000 too cheap in this field, in this spot. So I'm going to go with Rory up top. I can go over all the stuff on him, but obviously he did win here in 2019, which doesn't mean a whole lot, actually. It's obviously been almost 5 years. So I don't put a whole lot of stock, as we all won't this week, in the course history. But he did shoot a 61 here in the final round, and I think that was with a couple bogeys on his card. So I'm going to go with Rory. Theegala, just too pricey, too close to Rory, in my opinion. He could play well this week, but he's going to carry. That's the thing. All these guys up top are going to. Rory will probably be 40+ at least by the time he's done. Theegala and Fleetwood will probably be somewhere in the 20s. Lowry played good at the team event with Rory, then followed it up with a nice effort at the PGA T6. I'm not chasing him another week to play well at 10-1. Just not enough distance between him and Rory here. So for me, I'm going to fade the other three guys. I'm going to play Rory. If I was to play another guy, Fleetwood is definitely the more interesting second guy in for me. But I'm going to just play Rory and then move on down.
I mean, it's going to be hard to get away from Rory up top. A lot of separation. You see that in his price. I mean, it's somewhat reflected into his price, but again, when you look at the other names up in this range, it's like, really? And so what it has me thinking, like, are there guys in the 9K, 8K range that we could play that we feel just as good about as the Theegalas, Fleetwood, Shane Lowry's? I guess that's pretty much where my mind goes. When I look at this top tier range. Snyder, I kind of think I know what you're going to do up here, but what are you doing with the 10K and up range?
Yeah, I think I'm right there with Uncle T. I think Rory's just too underpriced here. I mean, we saw Scotty in this situation last week, and he was just over 13K priced. Looking at the odds, I mean, Rory's right there at plus 360. He's 12-1. Even looking at the matchup markets, he's matched up with Fleetwood and Theegala in both his matchups there, and there's a 45-cent move in Rory's direction in both of those matchups. So I think Rory is just the guy you just got to lock and move on, because we're going to see his ownership very similar to what we saw Scotty last week, probably in that 40 to 55% range, depending on which contest you play in. I mean, single entry, 3 max will probably be closer to that 55 to 60% range, but I expect him to come in 45 to 50% in like the flagship contest. But I think he should be higher owned than that. I think he's probably a better chance to land on the optimal than Scotty was last week, just because the field is much weaker here. You look at Lowry. I don't mind Lowry if you want to go there, but Noren's even catching some steam versus him in the matchup market. So I think it's just Rory for me up top. Just lock him in and move on. I mean, he's He can bomb it off the tee and everything this week. He can bomb and gouge this place. He won this event back in 2019 when it was here the first time, or the last time, I mean. And so Rory is just kind of just like a don't overthink it guy and just lock him in and move on. Kind of like I did with Scotty last week. I know Scotty didn't hit the optimal, but he was right there. He was the favorite Thursday and he was the favorite Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on the odds market. I think even after that rough start, had 2 bad rounds, 2 good rounds. Yeah, I think Rory is just gonna pummel these guys. I mean, there's a lot of dust balls in this field this week. I think we'll come out and do it.
Hey, Snyder, we might need a few of those dust balls to make our Rory lineups work. So hey, let's be nice. I'm with you guys. Let's make it 3 for 3. Absolutely love Rory. I gave him a big projection relative to where everyone else is going to be in this with what we're doing with the lineup builder show here. I bumped down Thigala a little bit. Tommy Fleetwood I left alone. I bumped up Shane Lowry just a tiny bit because again, when I think about how these builds are going to look. With Rory, he takes up a lot of salary. Obviously, not as much salary as Scotty Scheffler last week. I think we're going to be able to play another one of these golfers in there. But I think it's going to come in the 9K and 8K ranges versus like a Shane Lowry, Tommy Fleetwood. So I really like this right here. Let's move on to the 9K range. Uncle T, back over to you. What are you doing with the 9K range?
Yeah, we start out, excuse me, we start out the 9K range with my guy, Alex Noren. Now, while you guys were talking, and I did some, kind of playing around earlier today with, again, just the Rory builds and how it was going to look. And I think, and again, we'll talk about it later on in the show with some of those 6, low 7s, and even maybe a guy or two in the 5K range we can play. I don't mind starting the lineup here with Rory and one of these guys in the 9Ks. And Alex Noren, you guys, I did go back and look because every week I say I play him, and I just never remember. I've played him every week since the Players. So I've played him 7 straight weeks, and I'm just not going to get off of him. I'm going to definitely have some builds that start with Rory and Noren. 17 straight cuts made, 8 straight top 25s. I realize his price tag is getting way up there. But, again, for me, and, again, I might be biased on the good side here, but I'm just going to play him. I can't fade the guy until he lets me down. So I'm going to play a little Alex Noren. I do think a couple of these other guys in the 9K range do grade out really well on this course this week. Cam Young, a guy that I typically don't care to play as much. I don't like him as much as other guys do. He hits a lot of fairways, hits a lot of greens. He's 13 for 13 in cuts made this year. I probably won't go there this week, but I could definitely make a case for him this week. Corey Connors, obviously one of the top-ranked, not the top-ranked, but one of the top-ranked Canadians obviously playing this week. He could easily get a lot of love here, maybe upwards of 20% by the time the week ends, 20-1 to win the tournament. He missed cut here last year or the last time here, but obviously elite ball striker. I'm not going to hold it clearly that against him. Sam Burns is an easy fade for me. Just feels like, he was T13 at the Wells Fargo, but at this point he missed cut at the PGA. I just like guys around him a lot better. Mav McNeely is one of those guys, 9,200. I have a little bit of interest in Big Mav. 12 of 13 cuts made this year, coming off a T7 last week and a T23 at the PGA. The one thing with Mav is most of these guys here, they feel overpriced. I think 9,200 is his highest price tag of the year, and that I can really remember. So, but I do have a little bit of interest here. And then Adam Scott's a guy I don't really know what to do. I'll probably end up fading him too because, again, I like to kind of start these builds. Rory Noren, Rory, maybe Connors, Rory McNeely. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here. Burns is the easy fade and probably Young, even though I think he has a pretty good course fit.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give credit to Adam Scott. The guy's out there grinding. It's like, we're doing these videos, these shows each and every week, and we always have to talk about Adam Scott. Not necessarily the case with a lot of golfers on tour. So, Adam Scott, I will give you that credit there. It reminds me of like Sung Jae In. The guy just is playing every tournament, it seems like right now. So, I mean, he was good last week too. T12 with Charles Schwab. I mean, I'm not really like an Adam Scott guy right now, but I think I left his projection alone. And I like what you had to say. Cam Young, I don't know if I can go. I don't know if I can get there on Cam Young. Don't we have tight fairways? Isn't that what you said, Snyder?
They're
Yes.
around 30 yards wide. I mean, they added a couple bunkers to him and play right around the 300-yard mark on a couple holes. So I think it's right around maybe 30 yards wide, I think, on the fairways, I think, this week.
Yeah, that doesn't sound wide enough for me. Snyder, 9K range. What are you doing with these guys?
Yeah, I like Norn as well. I think his ownership's going to be capped with that price tag too. But I like where he's moving in the betting markets there, in the matchup markets and such. So Norn at 9.9 is going to be a guy I go to here. I think he's going to be under 15%, at least right now. It shows him under 15%. And I'm seeing Cameron Young approaching 30% potentially, like 25 to 30 in that range. So I'll play Norn at half the ownership there. That's a no-brainer. Connors is probably another guy I'll probably fade. He's going to be probably 20% plus owned too. He really hasn't been doing much. I mean, Norn's, I think, such a better play than those two ownership-wise, and all the other things figured in there as well. And I actually don't mind a little Sam Burns. I think we're going to get him pretty low owned, like 15% or lower. I don't mind sprinkling some Burns in there just for the upside. I think he's got just as much, if not more, upside than Connors and Young, and he's cheaper and lesser owned. So I'll sprinkle some Burns in there. My guy Mavs right there as well. I'll probably have a little Mavs sprinkled in there as well, but I'm not sure how my builds are going to turn out if I lock Rory and get overweight on Norn. I'll have to see how much I can fit there with the rest of the 9K range and such, but Norn's definitely my favorite in this range. And then probably Mav and Burns I would have in there a little bit.
I'm always a sucker for playing Corey Connors. It's a Canadian Open, man. Like, he's got to get some ownership. And I like what you guys had. I like what you guys had to say about him. I think the sharp play is exactly what you guys hinted at, with Alex Norn bumping him up. I like the thoughts that you had, Snyder, just in the matchup markets, with things moving in a positive direction for Alex Norn, even in comparison versus like Shane Lowry. I think that's the sharp play. I gave him a nice bump. So like Rory, Alex Norn are two guys that we bumped up. I'm a Corey Connors guy. I bumped him up a little bit in relation to the range. We're not going to get too crazy. I left everyone else kind of alone. I don't mind giving, because I want to highlight, like, I don't want to fully dismiss this entire range. If we get pieces that fall in, maybe it's like a build without Rory. I want to highlight that, but really it's Alex Norn. That's, again, I like, crazy to go 3 for 3, but it's the play I like as well. And then I like a little bit of Corey Connors as well. Interesting with Sam Burns. I like how your boy Bab McNeely's playing right now. The approach game is kind of what I have a little bit of concerns with. Let me update my model. I was looking at a larger data set, and I mean the approach, he's getting it done around the green. Everything off the tee is awesome. It's just the iron play at his price. A little concerned about that. Whereas like Corey Connors, the iron play is, grades out extremely well. So I'm going to give Corey Connors one more bump. And then I feel pretty good about that. Let's keep it going though. If you haven't yet, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Helps us out a lot. RPS15 is the code. If you want to come check out Run Pure Sports, use SaberSim, our partners, sign up, use it to help you, build your PGA DFS lineups, and then obviously all sports as well. We have a PGA only package right now, and I believe here very soon we're going to add on the optimizer with that as well. So if all you want is PGA, you're going to be able to do that and have the optimizer. So that is something that our team and the SaberSim team are working on at the moment right now. Let's keep it going, though. Uncle T, we're going right back to you. 8K range, Aaron Rye, Mr. Two Gloves and Iron Covers, all the way down to Nick Taylor, another Canadian. What are we doing with the 8K range?
Yeah, real quick, Richie Smalls in chat. Is Rory going to be one of the highest owned? I do think he will clearly be the highest owned, in my opinion. I'd be shocked if somebody gets him. So, yeah, clearly he's going to be the highest owned, Richie. So just wanted to answer that real quick. Yeah, this 8K range, it starts with Aaron Rye up top there at 8,900. And the things I've been seeing, reading, he kind of grades out really good for this course. And I think he could pick up, he could get over 20% possibly by the time Thursday rolls around. And I think I kind of want to be underweight here on Rye. I might be missing out, but at 8,900, I'm going to let other people probably play Mr. Two Gloves here. I think I'm going to pass on him. Again, he does seem like he grades out pretty well. He had a T4 at the CJ Cup a couple of tournaments ago. Been playing pretty good golf, but I'm going to be out on him. Easy fade for my guy, Killer Keith Mitchell. He hasn't done any killing for me other than killing my lineup. So I'm out on Mitchell. Yeah, I can never get that guy right. When I play him, he sucks. When I don't play him, maybe he contends. I'm just not a Keith Mitchell guy in general, but we'll fade him. A guy that's interesting in this range is Tom Kim, 35-1. He just feels like in this type of field, he's been playing better golf. He feels like he's a little bit too cheap. I know he hasn't had any real strong finishes, but it feels like the last 4 or 5 weeks that he's played, he's been trending in the right direction. He's coming off a T24, which is his best finish in about a month and a half. I kind of like Tommy Kim a little bit here. And then you got the Canadians. You got Hadwin, who, T6 here, a couple years back when it was here, when Rory won it. He's got 4 top 10s this year, does Hadwin. I could easily make a case for him. He's definitely going to be in my pool. Not my favorite, but he'll be in the pool. Guy I like really a lot here. Like him a lot in the tournament and in DFS. Mackenzie Hughes, 8,300, 35-1 to win the golf tournament down here at 8,300. I'm pretty sure he's literally from this area, from Hamilton. He's been pretty good with his short game, and he's got a good putter. So he might be my top Canadian this week. I like a couple of them, but he might be my top Canadian this week at 35-1, 8,300 on DraftKings. So I like him a little bit. And then the bottom part of the range, I'm really indifferent on these guys. I don't think I like EVR. I'm going to be out on Akshay. I've not been on him the last couple of weeks, and he's had back-to-back missed cuts at the PGA and the Schwab. So he's cooled off a little bit since he won a couple months ago at the Valero. So I'm going to be out on Akshay. And Nick Taylor, I think I might fade my guy Nick Taylor here. He obviously a different course, but he's a defending champ, beat Fleetwood in a playoff last year. But I think he could have a few more distractions this week being the defending champ. And I'm going to fade maybe Mr. Nick Taylor unless you guys convince me otherwise.
I love the Tom Kim call. I love the Hadwin and Mackenzie Hughes call as well, especially if we end up under on Corey Connors. And this was a sharp move last year, obviously. If you would have been under on Connors, who I believe was the highest priced Canadian and highest owned, and if you would have been over on the Nick Taylors of the world. And I also think, Adam Hadwin was right there too. T12 last year, last 3 years has played very well in this tournament. Obviously, different courses, but he fared very well here in 2019. Absolutely love those comments. And then especially with Tom Kim as well. Snyder, AK range, Aaron Rye, 2 gloves, iron covers, all of the above, down to the defending champion, Nick Taylor. What are you doing with the AK range?
Yeah, I don't mind Aaron Rye a little bit. I mean, he's been really good off the tee, like accuracy-wise off the tee. Ranks second in the field. He's been hitting greens regulation at a high clip, too. Ranks third in the field, strokes gained tee to green. So I think he's fine there. Had a couple of decent finishes there. He was top 5 back at the Batter and Nelson, a couple other top 40s at the PGA and the Charles Schwab as well. I think he's fine to go in there. I like Tom Kim quite a bit in this range. A couple of good finishes. He's actually bettered his finish the last 4 events, so he's kind of rounding in the form. He's a minus 120 favorite over Aaron Rye in the matchup market, so I like some Tom Kim quite a bit. I think he's a good value for that price tag and the upside for this field. Wouldn't surprise me if he was there in contention come Sunday. So I'm in on Tom Kim quite a bit there. I do like that Mackenzie Hughes call there Uncle T had. I was on him at the PGA and the Wells Fargo. He did really good at the Wells Fargo, did really bad at the PGA. So hopefully a little a hedgehog deal there where he can spike this week again. But he's like Uncle T said, he's from the area. So I like Mackenzie Hughes, especially when he's going to be, under 10%. So it won't take too much to get overweight on him either. So in on Hughes. I probably won't get to EVR. I don't think I'll get there. I don't mind some Nick Taylor. I think him and Hadwin are both fine there. Hadwin is favored over him in the matchup markets. I believe he's Hadwin's minus 130 over Nick Taylor in the matchup market. So he's fine. And then who else was I looking at here? Actually, I think he's fine at 8,100 too. My favorite play in this range, though, is definitely Tom Kim. And then kind of sprinkle in some of those other guys.
I like that. And so just kind of a quick recap. Tom Kim, in this 8K range, the guy that we bumped up, elevated the most. And Rory, obviously, in the top tier range. And then Alex Noren in the 9K range. So the theme there, ball strikers, like Tom Kim, great ball striker when he's in form. And you can see it. The guy is starting to round into form. Not the longest course here, too, which I think will really benefit him. And the thing about him, too, when he's hitting fairways, you typically see a nice correlation there to the iron play as well. So if we can get some good fairways hit out of Tom Kim this week, I think the rest of his game will really fall in line. So I love that play. And Snyder, real quick before we go on to the 7K range, what's his ownership doing right now in the ownership projection markets?
I'm seeing Tom Kim right around somewhere in that 13 to 16% range.
Okay.
I think he'll be somewhere around there. So not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a play that you can get, multi-entry formats, it's not going to be hard to get like 35% if you want to get a couple X the field on a guy like that. So absolutely love Tom Kim. And the other thoughts on the 8K range. Let's keep it going, guys. 7K. So this is what we're going to do a little bit different as you guys talk about this range, since it's a larger range. We're not going to bring everyone into our player pool. We're just going to focus on the guys that we all like, starting with you, Uncle T.
Yeah, 7K range, not as big a 7K range as we're used to, maybe only about, 12 to 15 here. And it's a range kind of that I like to normally go to, but based off of my builds, or what I think I'm going to build like, I should say, and kind of how I want to set up things this week, might not get to a lot of these guys, but there are definitely some intriguing plays, like Davis Thompson up here at 7,800. He was 2T at the correlating event there in Myrtle Beach a couple weeks ago, T17 last week in Houston. He's 45 to win the golf tournament at 7,800. Again, I know you guys know I look at the Vegas odds a lot more than most, and he kind of sticks out in this range as, being one that is kind of getting liked a little bit out in the desert there. So kind of like Davis Thompson a little bit. Looked at Daniel Berger for a minute. He'd been playing a little bit better, but still not enough for me to buy in yet on Daniel Berger. Taylor Pendrith, another Canadian guy. I think he could be one of the Canadian guys that gets a little bit unnoticed maybe, or a little bit less owned maybe. I don't know. He maybe not. I'm not sure how people are going to do it, but he won, obviously, at the CJ Cup when I was on him pretty good a couple weeks back, or about a month ago, T12 or T10 at Quail Hollow. So he's playing some really good golf. 7,600, he's definitely worth a look. Doug Gim is another nice play down here. He has cooled off quite a bit, though. He started off the year so hot, did Doug Gim, and he's been relatively cool. But it feels like, again, a shorter track feels like it sets up well for him. And I'll mention two other guys. Adam Svensson, 60 to 1, 7,300, T24 last week. He still feels like he's too cheap. He was in the 6Ks last week when we played him. 7Ks this week, low 70 or 7,300, low 7Ks. I think he's still worth a shot here. 7 straight cuts made, playing good golf. And then might need some help on this pronunciation, but 7K Rio. He said,
that's Snyder's boy. Snyder.
I like this guy.
Help our guy Uncle T out.
Yeah.
Rio Hisatune.
All right.
There you go.
Usually I'm good on them. Thank you. Well, I like him a little bit. I think he was T18. I think he missed the cut last week, so a little bit of a flop lag, but he played well at the PGA, if I'm not mistaken, T18. So I have a little bit of interest in him, but really it's kind of a dead range for me, to be honest. Maybe sprinkling in one or two of these guys based off of need in my builds.
Yeah, very good. I love the Svensson call. Doug Gim has cooled off, but again, he's cheap. We're going to need some value. And I think there's probably worse names to click as well. Pendrith, I like that call as well. I mean, Berger, I mean, man, if he was in form, I mean, he showed signs of it. Last week he was okay. I can't remember what round he got. I mean, he finished T45. It was the AT&T Byron Nelson T13. So he's just going to be a very volatile guy kind of moving forward until he really, really hits his stride and gets into form. But I am bringing him into the player pool just to see if he hits any builds. Snyder, 7K range, what are you doing with these guys?
Yeah, I think there's some decent guys here in this range. The guy that really jumped out to me the most, I opened the app and looked at pricing. The first thing that popped out at me was the Rory price tag, and then I seen Taylor Pendrith down here at 7.6. I thought he was going to be really highly owned. I thought he would be like 20% plus, but I'm seeing him right around 15% right now. I think Pendrith is a great option. I mean, his team played really well at the Zurich. He won the Byron Nelson then and was T10 at the Wells Fargo before I believe he missed the cut on the number at the PGA Championship, but I think I'm ready to go right back to him. He can bomb it off the tee. He can get a hot putter as well. So I think Taylor Pendrith is my favorite Canadian this week. I'm going to go to him quite a bit this week. I'll be well overweight on him. So I'm definitely interested in Pendrith. I think you can look at Davis Thompson. He's a strong guy, strong recent form. Definitely pops off the pages stats-wise. So Davis Thompson's definitely a guy like Uncle T that I'll be on as well. Doug Gim, he hits a lot of fairways, lots of greens. I think that'll be big this week. Doesn't hit it that far off the tee, but I don't think it's really going to be needed. I think a lot of people are going to be clubbing down on some of these holes too. So that kind of fits right into Gim's hand, I think, there. So I'll be on Gim. Svensson is interesting. He's bettered his finish the last 3 events. Recent form. The Canadian Open course history or the tournament history isn't the best for him, though. He's missed 3 of the last 4 cuts, which is kind of interesting. He's played better, though, leading into this event. The putter is definitely down for him at times, so that'll be a guy that I'll watch. I'll have to see where the ownership is on him. I think he's a solid option, though. Just depends on where his ownership goes, so that'll be a guy I'll keep an eye on. I think Seamus Power has some upside down here at under 10%. He's a guy that can get hot. And then I do like my guy, Ryo Hisatune there. He's a guy that kind of pops off stats-wise. Has been up and down in his last 4 events. Top 15 at the Byron Nelson miscut. Top 20 at the PGA Championship miscut. So I think he's going to finish inside the top 20 if that trend keeps a turning there. So definitely in on some of him as well. I think Pendrith's my favorite in this range, followed by Hisatune, and then Davis Thompson probably are my top 3 guys here in this 7K range.
Yeah, very good. Absolutely love the Pendrith call. Very high on him, obviously, like I said. Davis Thompson as well. I think he's a fantastic play. The one guy I'm going to add that you guys didn't talk about, Matt Wallace, I don't love the play, but I do think he is in play. You do have kind of a little zigzag theory going on with them. Going back to the players, he missed the cut. T17, then at the Valspar, then missed cut at the Houston Open, then a T4 at the AT&T Byron Nelson. Then we saw him at the PGA Championship. He made the cut, but he finished T43. I like how he's playing. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him. I mean, Snyder, ownership-wise, what do you have Matt Wallace at?
Let me find him. It can't be
7 or 8, 7.
So, yeah, I think he's an awesome tournament play. So I'm going to give him just a little love. I prefer Taylor Pendrith, Davis Thompson, even Adam Svensson a little bit over him, but I do want to bring him into the player pool. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a bump there as well. Otherwise, I agree with you guys. I like the Rio call as well. And then we have some fades in here. Bobby Mack, Bo Hostler. I mean, these guys, Nikolai Hogar. I'm not going to play these guys. So I like these players that we have selected in this 7K range. Uncle T, we're going right back to you. 6K range, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to need some of these guys. We're going to need some of these scrubs. So I know we're talking some smack about them, but I do think we're going to need a few of them. And I do want to add a group rule this week because I don't want to go overboard on kind of the scrub range. So as we go through and talk about the 6Ks, I will then make a group rule to limit the amount of 6K players into our lineups.
Yeah, you're right, though. The 6K range, and we said it at the top of the show, is, again, way I want to build with Noren and Rory or Rory and Mav and however we want to do it up top. We're going to need a couple of these guys for sure. A couple of them look really good. Again, you got to kind of – some of these names, for me anyway, I don't know about you guys when you get to your all's picks down here, some of these guys, it's going to be kind of a hard click. There's no doubt about it. I mean, guys I'm looking at right now, and again, I'm looking at Vegas odds, especially down in these cheaper ranges, as long as they're not chalky and real high owned. Like guys like Eric Cole, this guy has been awful. I mean, just awful. But I like him on shorter courses. He's been in awful form, but he's 80-1 and he's 6,800. So if this guy can somehow make the cut Thursday and Friday and play well and make the cut at 6,800, maybe he can give us a top 25 finish for the first time in a while. I don't like I shouldn't say I don't like it. I'm going to play Eric Cole. Let's make no mistake. I know it looks ugly to click his name right now, but I like some Eric Cole. Matt Kuchar's a guy I don't think I've played in about a year and a half, but he looks kind of decent. You know, he had a T4 here in 2019. Again, not putting too much stock in that, but he's coming off a T17 last week. He just had one bad round last week. I think it was either Saturday or Sunday. He shot a 73. Played 3 pretty good rounds last week on a tougher course. Again, it's
I like that call.
I like that call. I like some.
You got a couple decent finishes in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get on board with that.
Yep. So I like a little Kuchar. 6,700. I got a little bit interest in Kevin Tway. Again, not a name I used to click on or you usually click on, but he hasn't played many events. He's been, earlier in the year he flipped back and forth with Korn Ferry events and the PGA events. But the limited chances he's got, if you look at him, I mean, T3 at Punta Cana, T9 at the Byron Nelson, T43 at the Wells Fargo, and then T24 last week. Nothing totally jumps out the page, but 6,700, a guy that's been playing good golf no matter where it's been. Kind of like me a little Kevin Tway going down the board a little bit. Our guy AP, Andrew Novak, I always feel like I have to play a little Andrew Novak, even though he hasn't really had any real big finishes recently. Mac Meisner, 6,500. I think he's going to be a little bit popular in this range. By popular, maybe he gets the 6 or 7%. 75-1 to win the golf tournament, coming off the T5 in Houston, T13 in Myrtle Beach prior to that. So he might be one of my favorite plays there. I need to keep an eye on his ownership, though, between now and Thursday morning. I'll mention 2 other guys at the bottom. Gary Woodland, he played pretty good for 3 rounds last week. He closed with a 76. He might have even been in the top 10 going into Sunday and really kind of fell back, but been playing a lot better golf. He's 6,200. So you could do definitely worse than 6,200 Gary Woodland. And I'll mention one other guy, Bryce Garnett, for no other reason than it just feels really, really, really cheap for a guy like Bryce Garnett.
What's his price tag?
6,100.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, yep. I don't feel like there's a ton of stats really to back it up. Just feels like, again, in these lesser tournaments, shorter tracks,
like
Bryce Garnett's worth a shot down here. But, yeah, definitely some guys to play, and I'm going to need them here in my builds.
Yeah, really good. Gary Woodland, yeah, he was looking really strong there for a little bit. Same with, like, Charlie Hoffman. And then he finishes T50? I mean, whew. He started out so hot, too. I mean, that's the Charlie Hoffman we know. First-round leader, Charlie Hoffman. At least, at the Masters, he's done that a few times. Snyder, 6K range. What are you doing with the dust balls down here?
Yeah, I'm going to find a few of these guys that I like. I think Sam Stevens is fine up top, around 5%. He's been known to pop a few times. He was top 10 at the Myrtle Beach. I think he's a guy that could pop here at pretty low ownership for a cheap price tag, so he'll be in the pool. I do like that Matt Kuchar call a little bit. I think he'll be under 5%. You can sprinkle him in there pretty easily, so I'll have some Kuchar in there. Kevin Tway was another name I was looking at recent form-wise. He can hit it off the tee a decent amount. Pretty good strokes gained total over the last 36 rounds, too. He ranks inside the top 20 for this field, so I don't mind that call there. Grayson Siggs, a guy that I usually like to play in these weaker type fields. I mean, he'll be under 5% too, so it won't take much to get overweight on him in MME. Mac Messner, I don't think he's going to get too highly owned. I think he'll be under 5% still, but he was a huge guy for me last week. That was one of the higher owned guys I had in that 5K range. I played him on the Showdown, the weekend Showdown too. He was a core play Saturday and Sunday. He played well on during the weekend too, 66, 68 for Mac during the weekend. So I'll be back on him this week. I think he's got great upside for the price tag there. Our guy Nate Lashley's down there. He's been known to pop in some of these weaker type field events, so I'll have a little bit of him. I think he'll be another guy, probably 2, 3, 4% owned. Really easy to get overweight on.
What was his price? I know I saw him. But now I got it. Yeah, I got him. We got him in the pool.
Nebraska boy there.
He has been terrible, though.
Yeah.
What about some Bud Cauley, guys? Like, I feel like this is a Bud Cauley course. He's cheap. Anyone against Bud Cauley? Can we bring him in?
I think he's fine there. He's going to hit greens at a pretty high regulation. I mean, the putting's up and down for him, but I think he's fine for this type of field event. I mean, he'll be under 5% as well, I think. So
yeah, not going crazy on him, but I think the shorter course, his irons look good. He's been good around the greens. I don't mind him being in the pool.
Like a 1% guy, it's my guy Jacob Bridgman. I've played him a couple of times in these weaker type field events. I think he's got some decent upside for this event. He can get hot with the putter too. We've seen some spike putting weeks for Bridgman there. So he's interesting at like 1%. You can play 3-4% of him, be 3-4x the field on him there. That's pretty much it. I don't mind some Garnett if you want to get in there. He's a decent guy in these type of field events. He's going to hit a lot of fairways. He's going to hit a lot of greens in regulation. So that's kind of what we're after here. The putting's up and down for him at times though as well. But like a lot of these guys down here, I think there's some solid options down here. My favorite guy is definitely Messner though. I think in this range though for sure.
Yeah, I like that call. I like the Bridgman call too. You're usually spot on with some of these guys. And I like the Bryce Garnett call. I'm adding Martin Laird. Martin Laird. Yeah. He's been a good what was that?
Yeah. I think he's fine.
He's been a good cut maker. 5-6 cuts in a row, I believe. Shorter track, 6K. I mean, I think there's worse plays than him down here. Outside of that, not getting too crazy. We got Bridgman, Gary Woodland. But again, I don't want to be like crazy overweight on any one of these type of plays. And when it does come to finalizing some builds, I might consider something like we talked about last week, limiting our builds to maybe 2 max in the 6K plus 5K type of range, which is something that towards the end I can show the people how to do. Outside of that, I like this range from a standpoint of we're going to need a little bit of value. We're going to need 1, maybe 2 of these dust balls in with our Rory lineups. At least it feels that way. It'll be interesting when we run the build to see if that is true or not. Uncle T, we're going right back to you. 5K range. Again, I'm probably going to be pretty cautious with this range, but there are some names down here I do think that we can consider since it is a shorter track this week. So what are you doing with the 5Ks?
Yeah, as much as all three of us, it seem like really are going to hammer this 6K range above, I don't like as much this 5K. There's definitely some guys if you wanted to go down here, but I'd like to really, even if I had to go 2 6K guys, and I haven't really looked out too closely at 3. I don't know that I want to go 3, but I don't want to go down here too much. But Chandler Phillips, 5,900 is a guy I think we can go to. T12 last week in Houston. He did have a nice high finish earlier in the year too at the Valspar T3. He's, kind of talented. He can pop here and there, 5,900. The guy I've been hearing a little bit about this week, Ryan Moore, and it's obviously, shorter track and things like that. I don't know that I like Ryan Moore a whole lot, but, I've been hearing a little about him this week. David Skins, 5,800. You can maybe go to him. Guy I kind of like a lot is Kelly Crafts, 5,700. Looks like he could be a guy that you can play. And then there's some guys down here towards the bottom, middle to bottom end of the 5K range that have been, are coming off good finishes last week. Pearson Cootie, I played him at the, I believe it was the CJ Cup, maybe 4 weeks ago. He missed a cut for me. but I think he made the cut at the Myrtle Beach tournament and then T5 last week. So
what was his price?
5,700 Pearson Coody. I think he could be a guy we can look at for cheap. And then another guy that played last week pretty well, Hayden Buckley, right? T5 last week. Again, not really wanting to go down here too much, but there's just a handful of guys I had listed.
Where was Hayden? What was Hayden Buckley's
55.
55. Yeah. I know it's harder for me to see since I'm zoomed in to make it easier when I look over on my screen. So it's a little bit more difficult to see. I like that call on Hayden Buckley. And again, I don't think we want to get too crazy with these guys. I mean, some of these guys I have no idea who they are.
They're dust balls.
Yeah, Lanto Griffin. I should text my brother-in-law, see how Mr. Lanto. He's a Dormy Network guy, I believe. Yeah. Snyder knows. Justin, I believe knows him. But again, 5,400. Whew, man. Snyder, 5K range. Who do you like down here?
And there's a few guys that may have some interest in down here. You can always look at like a Matthew Neesmith down here. Robbie Shelton kind of popped the last couple events he's played. I probably won't get the Sammy Valinaki, but he's a name down there I think some will go to. I think I'll fade him, though. He's has really bad recent form. A few other guys. There was a guy down here. What was his name? I wrote it down here. Yeah, Matt Anderson, 5.4K. He's like a Canadian golfer. He's playing on a couple of these mini tours. I think he won an event recently on like a mini tour like a month or two ago. I think he's a guy I need to dive into a little more and figure out exactly who and what he is. He's a guy I'll look at, though. Robbie Shelton kind of grades out the best for me down here. A few other guys, like my guy Nico's down here, Nico Echeverria, or however you say his name.
What's his price?
Nico is 5'6".
5'6". Like it.
And then Vincent Norman's down here. He hasn't been playing that good, but he's popped at times. There was a couple other guys I was looking at, like Chandler Phillips, like Uncle T said, he's definitely a guy that I'll look at here. And then Max Gracerman's another one of these guys that we've seen pop a couple times in these weeks.
What's his price?
Max Gracerman's 5'9", and Chandler Phillips is 5'9".
Perfect.
Those are just, they're going to be like 1% on, just kind of sprinkles for like a 150 or something.
Yeah, and the thing that you can do is we can, let's see, a little bit more difficult. We'll add in a group rule. We'll just call it punts 2. We create a group. We're going to say no more than 2. And then what we can do is just from our pool, we can start to add in these values just to make sure that we're not getting any like crazy, 3. We're not playing Bramlett, but we'll add them in. I mean, I think it's a rule that makes sense, especially since we had a lot of interest in the 7, 8K, even 9K type of ranges. Snyder, Uncle T, is this, starting with Snyder, is this something that you guys like to do? Do you mess around with rules often in PGA DFS?
Yeah, at times I do, depending on the week and the player pool that I have. But I think that's a good idea this week for sure.
Yeah, so we'll save that. Use no more than 2. Yeah. So I like that rule. I like that rule. Again, you can see the soldiers rule, generals rule, pawns. Sometimes if I'm in 20 max formats, I'll definitely make some rules just to help guide my lineups to reflect what I want them to look like it from an exposure standpoint, but then also incorporating and bringing in some other golfers that obviously the optimizer is going to help optimize my lineups. We'll go to our build settings. Let's change our min salary. I don't like leaving a lot of salary, so 49.7 typically is what I'm going to look at. Sim diversity, moderate for this exercise is what I'm going to use. We're going to look at just 20 lineups, and we're going to look at a pool size of 1,500. We're not going to mess around with contest sims, and we are going to sort by highest projected. While this is loading and while SaberSim is crunching our lineups, let's get on to our winners, and then we will review our top 3 lineups like we do each and every week. Uncle T, let's start with you. Who do you got winning this week? Overall winner? I mean, we would all say Rory, I think. So 2 mid-ish and longish long shots. How about that?
Yeah, I definitely think Rory at 3-1 or 3.5-1 would obviously be the easy choice for the show. But and I kind of wanted to go with the Canadian tonight, but I'm not going to do it. There's a lot of good ones we like. We like Hadwin, we like Hughes, we like Pendrith. I'm going with my guy Alex Noren. 22-1, not the best number on him. It's a shorter number than we used to seeing on him. I'm going to think Alex Noren's going to cap off this great stretch of golf. He's going to get in the winner's circle. 22-1, Alex Noren. And then my guy down below, I will go to a Canadian, and I hope I don't take Snyder's guy, but Taylor Pendrith, 55-1. He could easily get his second win in his last, 4 starts. Taylor Pendrith playing some good golf. I'll take him as my lower value guy.
I agree with our guy Sean right here. And again, we will, as we progress with the show, we'll get into some more advanced type of Saber stuff. But I can't tell you guys, like I like keeping it simple, and a lot of so when we think about our research process, I think we all have our own processes, but then it's kind of a group think now. We get on the show, we talk through the tiers, and honestly, setting a baseline where everyone is set towards the same value, and then slight bump ups, slight bump downs, it at least gives us a nice baseline from a roster construction standpoint of what to work off of. It's helped me out a lot this week. I hope it's helped you guys as well. But I really like kind of the process that we have going with this show. Uncle T, great outrights as well. Noren, I mean, man, I might have to go over to the core plays page and put Noren in there just to be the first, so that I can say that I was on him before you, even though that's not necessarily true. Snyder, who do you got winning this week outside of Rory?
Yeah, I'm going to lead mine off with one of the same guys that Uncle T had. I'm going to go with Taylor Pendrith right at 55-1. It's the best number you can get on him right now. I think he's going to be right there towards the end. And then my other longer shot is going to be, I'm going to go with my favorite punt down there. And I was surprised.
Rio?
Odds. No, I was surprised that Mac Messier is at 80-1 right now. I think that's pretty solid for the price tag there. It makes me like him even more for DFS, but I'm going to go with him off the solid finish last week there. And another thing about Saber that I like to do maybe even more rules for like a tournament like the U.S. Open that we have in a couple of weeks, where there's going to be a lot more variance in that. It's going to play tougher. You could go tee time, wave stack advantages, group those guys together. Bombers, you can group those two guys together and add those guys in some other categories like that. You can make some different groups for that as well, I think.
I like that a lot. I'm keeping it simple. Tom Kim, 35-1. And then my other guy is I just had him highlighted. Where's he at? Matt Wallace, 75-1. I just think it's a tough outright week, especially when we all love Rory. And Rory's just dialed right now. He really is. But again, it's not a bad week to take $100, $200, create a portfolio of nice outrights. And looking at this range, the Matt Wallace 75-1 right there with Mac Messner, Snyder's boy, Seamus Power down there as well. I think there's some interesting names where the odds are pretty nice on them. Aaron Rye, like if you're fading the DFS, maybe you sprinkle a little bit, 35-1. Davis Thompson, 45-1. I think they're all all guys that we talked about when we're playing in DFS, but they're kind of interesting names from a outright standpoint. And maybe you hedge it, you do that, you lock in Rory, and you create a mini hedge, if you want to call it that, from a DFS standpoint. But let's look at our lineups again. Let's sort by highest projected. Let's look at our top 3, and I always like adding in, let's go 3 uniques just so that we could see a little bit of difference in there from our lineup standpoint. You can see Rory, obviously, is right in there in our top lineup with Adam Hadwin, Davis Thompson, Pendrith, Tom Kim, and then Snyder, your boy. I mean, this build is interesting. I think it's really interesting. If I don't know anything about, okay, I'm leaning on you. I'm going to go do some research, do my due diligence like we always do. But we all like Pendrith, Tom. It's a nice build, really nice build with Rory. We're anchoring it with a 5,400 guy that we don't know, but no 6K guys in this lineup. I'm fine with that. Any thoughts on this top lineup, Uncle T?
No, I like it a lot. Again, I don't know much about the Anderson guy either, but again, if you get a guy down there at 5,400, he makes the cut. Again, you're just going to be cruising as long as these other guys that we talked about get through. And the Tom Kim, he was my second choice AP after Norn. I almost took Tom Kim as my outright for the show, but I'll also have some Tom Kim outright bet with you in Vegas. I like that call.
Yeah, and then this is kind of what I thought the build would look like. Snyder, I'll get your comments on this one, then we'll get out of here. But I was thinking the Rory and then Alex Noren route, one that we talked about. You're going to need at least one 6K and likely one 5K guy in there. Nate Lashley, Nasty Nate, if he can get it done. But we have Pendrith, we have Davis Thompson, two guys that we really like. Obviously, Gary Woodland showed some life last week as well. Another viable route. Any thoughts on kind of just roster construction with these final two builds?
Yeah, I think they're fine there. Interesting to see that Anderson find another build down there. He was a guy that I was just searching Twitter earlier for Canada Open stuff on Twitter, and his name came across as a top Canadian golfer. He won on some mini tour or something they were saying as well. So definitely interested in diving into him a little deeper going forward. But yeah, I really like how those builds are kind of shaping out there. I like the one there with the Noren, the Anderson, the Noren, Anderson, Pendrith, and Rory. So yeah, I really like that one as well.
Let me just add in 4 uniques just to bring something different in here. So yeah, another 5K guy, but Hayden Buckley instead of Anderson. Corey Connors in there. We got loaded 3. Half our lineup is Canadians. I don't know if we can do that. I don't know if that's allowed at the Canadian Open. Might be chalky, but again, really interesting. And we like all 3 of those guys. I think we liked. I think it was more the Connors kind of fade, but again, a really interesting build path where we avoid the 6K range and then we lean on a punt in Hayden Buckley. So I think this build and I think that top build, really interesting paths to go down this week. Again, we're going to get out of here. Hopefully you like this show. If there's anything else that you want to see as far as SaberSim, shoot me a DM. We'll make sure to incorporate it moving forward. But with that, Snyder, talk a little bit about the Showdown content that you do each and every week, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, the Showdown has actually been pretty good the last few weeks for me. It's been kind of keeping my head above water if I'm not doing that all right on the classic slates there. But rounds 1 through 4, we're going to have a full Showdown playbook. I'll have a player, the price, where they tee off, tee times, where they're placing in the leaderboard, and all that. And I'll have a golfer notes section for each player in the playbook. I don't write up everybody. It's usually somewhere between like 18 to 25 golfers total in the playbook there. So we're going to take some stands there. Get on some guys there and make some leverage points there, and we'll have some fades in there too. Usually, like on round 2, generally we don't like to play the first round leaders and such. Moving day on Saturdays, I don't like to play the leaders there. I like to find some of the guys charged up the leaderboard and such. But I'll have a slate breakdown too with the way I'm attacking each slate as well, and some fades and such in there, and how the weather's going to impact stuff. Everything's in that slate breakdown.
Awesome. Good stuff, Snyder. Showdown, we provide cores for that as well. Myself, Big T, Wiley, JBC, all in there with Snyder, obviously, from a core standpoint. All right, guys. If you haven't yet, hit the like, subscribe. We appreciate RPS 15 to sign up over here. We have golf-only subscriptions. You can add in Saber. That's coming very, very soon. For Uncle T, Snyder, I'm AP. Let's run Pier.